Capital Improvement Program, CIP, for event, park and recreational facility improvements.
Take care.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Rena Gonzalez. I am the City of Floresville Parks and Recreation Director. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. Tonight I'm presenting the City of Floresville Parks and Recreation 5-year capital improvement program for the fiscal years of 2027 through 2031. This plan represents a strategic investment of $2.5 million over the course of 5 years with an annual allocation of $500,000 per year. This is focused on improving recreational opportunities in our community, enhancing the park infrastructure, increasing accessibility, and improving the overall quality of life for our residents. The projects included in this plan were selected based on community needs, facility conditions, safety considerations, and opportunities to expand on recreational amenities throughout the city. So what you have before you today is going to be a breakdown of those projects. It's a total of 8 projects that you will be seeing over that 5-year total. And so just starting at the top, we see aquatics improvements, followed by Watts Park improvements, skate park modifications, hike and bike trail rehabilitation, athletic field improvements, pecan park improvements, and a trail connection with wayfinding enhancements to follow. These are creating a outlook across the city of what we can see great for our residents of all ages and interests. Mr. Munoz, would you like me to expand on each one of those projects?
If you could, please.
Okay. So starting at the top, we have aquatic improvements to our municipal pool renovation. This is a total investment of $350,000 over the course of 2 fiscal years. The first year being at $200,000, followed by $150,000. And some of the items that we see that are needed out at that location is going to be some shade structure replacements. I'm not sure if you've made your way out to our facility out there, but there's definitely some enhancements that need to be, some love that needs to be given to that facility. It's highly utilized. Our community enjoys it. We would like the opportunity to expand. So this would definitely help us to have additional seating area, some ADA allowances there as well, and overall sun protection for the community. We would look at electrical system upgrades, some upgraded lighting. We do have some early morning parties or early morning aerobics or late night aerobics and late night parties. That would definitely be something we need for assistance. We are looking at a possible facility painting and surface restoration. That painting needs some love out there. And so this is kind of an idea of what we could really just show what Floresville is and really highlight out there. And for me, the pump room enclosure is critical for our space on the surface. So we have a deck and then we have a pit area where it's pretty much open. Our team, as you can see there, has done some modifications where they've tried to cover up that area just so that way our chemicals are not exposed, our filtration system's not exposed, but it definitely needs some sort of enclosure that's still going to be area to allow for some air to come in, but it needs to be enclosed so it's not open to just all the elements falling into the system.
May I? Of course. Do you know that we used to have a swim team that was very successful, and we had kids go to the Junior Olympics?
Wow.
Several years back when my daughter was in high school.
Excellent.
What times the early 2000s? I guess we haven't had a swim team since then. I don't know.
No.
But it was huge. People, and we went everywhere, like the gentleman who was talking about his tournament.
Right.
Same thing. So it would really be nice to see that happen.
Absolutely. Some of these modifications would definitely open up the doors to some interest, right? People like shiny new things, and that might just bring some interest into the community. And also higher utilization of the facility. It's already highly utilized, but how can we expand on that with these, enhancements at the space?
What would you start with?
The first project at the top would definitely be the aquatics improvements. And
The what?
The aquatics improvements overall. We would want to bring somebody in to look at the design of the facility. So we want to see what we can do to enhance the shade structure on the exterior side. And this would all have to be done during the off-season itself. So we're also kind of fighting against the clock, per se, because we want to get as much as possible as done, or excuse me, as much done as possible, with also the idea that we are going to go into FY '28 to potentially, finish off the rest of it. The pump enclosure, as much as that's what I would like to see, I understand that my community wants to see something first. And so for me, I would ensure that the community gets what they want to see first, those pretty enhancements. And then for me, on the backside, at the tail end of that project would be the pump room enclosure, because that's far off to the side. That's not necessarily going to impede the usage of the facility. So whatever's going to impede the usage is what I would like to see done first for the aquatics facility.
I hear complaints about the bathrooms at the parks, so that would be a good one to start with.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to Watts Park improvements. Watts is a beautiful park. It's gorgeous out here, and it's right in the center of our city. I would love to see a new playground installation, definitely bringing to life this area down here. Look at designing contingencies should we need to expand any further. Safety and surfacing and installation to ensure that the project is being installed properly and safely for our children to be able to utilize. And as you see there, new restroom facilities. So restrooms always need to be loved, and they're just not always the fanciest that people want to, put funding into. But these facilities definitely need it. It's a highly utilized space out here. I see people, out here utilizing the tennis area and additional spaces. And then also we use this for the center of town for different events. So it would be beautiful to also have that facility, updated and enhanced for usage. And lastly would be court enhancements. So any funding that we would have left over, I would want to invest that back into the tennis courts and the basketball courts there. That could be as much as new striping for the facility, new backboards, and additional, nets or fencing around the tennis courts if necessary. We would look at what our options would be based on what we would have. I also have on there a water fountain. We really need a water fountain out there. And so that's something that I would want to include in the enhancements for Watts Park.
With the funding assistance, can you explain that? I mean, what do you require for funding assistance? Of eligible type B improvement
Mr. Munoz, did you hear that?
for the projects.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What was that?
What kind of funding assistance does this program require?
On the CIP,
Yes.
the CIP is in conjunction to what we do with our general fund budget for Parks and Recreation. So this would be in addition to what we program with our park fund, as well as the general fund for our park activities. When I first started about 3.5 months ago, I issued out a survey, a community survey for the city manager. And we asked, what are some of the things that people want to see changed here in Floresville or improved? Parks came in number 2. Obviously, streets came in number 1. And that's what we're currently working on with the budget right now, moving forward with our engineers. But number 2 is our parks and recreation systems, improving our parks, as well as our trail, our walking, biking, hike and bike trails. And so what this is in conjunction of that in terms of the request, in addition to what we're programming currently and what we plan on currently doing in the budget for the upcoming fiscal year.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are we ready for a motion?
I have a question.
Oh, you have a question? All right.
This is a substantial request, and it's $500,000 a year for 5 years, it's $2.5 million. It looks like our budget is $1.5 million, so you would take 1/3 of the budget. How is it that it was decided that these were the projects that you wanted to propose to FEDC?
Well, I think that's a 2-part question. So the first part is just community feedback. So based on the need that we hear, right? Parks needs some attention, we see that. Myself, and my background is fully and has always been Parks and Recreation. And so I've been able to come out to the facilities and look at our locations, and I've seen the need. Outdated equipment, antiquated, some safety concerns, materials that were installed at some point in time that made sense and maybe now it's just not sufficient for what we need. And then also just changes, as was mentioned earlier, you know, we see the common of the sports. What can we do to enhance those ideas and kind of expand on what we're doing to bring more people into our community? So I myself have gone and looked at all of these facilities. I've been on the hiking bike trail. I ensured that I looked at all of at the amenities that the facilities had, talked with quite a few vendors just to have a better understanding of what is the industry standard. And most importantly, my staff. My staff is frontline, boots on the ground, fixing daily, consistently having to make modifications to make things work. And I asked them, what, if there was things that could be fixed, what do we need to fix? Restrooms. Restrooms are not always going to be the prettiest that we put in the forefront, right? When we go out and we ask for money, nobody's sitting here saying, oh, the restroom's the first thing we think about. But it's a necessity, it's a quality of life. Nobody wants to go to a park that doesn't have a water fountain or doesn't have a restroom. So it's looking at what was feedback from the community, feedback from the staff, feedback from just industry standard, and just knowledge of what Parks and Recreation looks like overall.
Does the city have, it sounded like Mr. Munoz was talking about funding that you're using for other projects in Parks and Recreation, but does the city have funding available to fund part or all of these projects that are listed in here?
No, it does not. We would actually need to either go out for additional funding. It would be some of our CIP, so our capital improvement. This year would be part of the capital improvement plan of your budget as well, though.
I guess another, is the city funding other Parks and Recreation
Correct.
projects?
So
And
for the pool, we will be funding, we have one quote that is old, so no, it's probably gonna be a few $100,000 more, but the filtration system at the pool needs to be replaced. Last year it came in at $501,000, so they will be funding that. So if we fund the filtration, we cannot fund the bathrooms, that kind of thing right now.
so maybe $500,000 from the city budget for Parks and Recreation projects?
Right,
And then
for that one. And then
for
we
1
have-
year?
Well, for that one project, for us, for the city, this coming.
Is it this annual, this year's budget?
Correct. And then we do have the lighting that we are going out for on the hike and bike. We also, they do have their own budget, so things that come up that we do, I'm trying to think what currently they've done, just operation maintenance and painting and fixing of things that have gone that go over.
Are there grants available for any of these projects?
Correct.
Great question. So there is actually, so most grants for parks are going to be coming through the TPWG, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. These are never guaranteed. So you have some opportunities that are one-to-one matches, but that means that you have to come up with your one first. So if this would be something that we could receive, we would possibly work with TPWG, do an application, and possibly leverage these funds to have a one-to-one match for any of these projects. So maybe if we started on this project and we looked at it at a $500,000 commitment for, let's just say, aquatics facility, we could potentially utilize the 500 that's already being given to us, a 500 that's we're being asked for, which is at $1 million. We could potentially leverage that to ask for a grant, and their maximum is 1.5 on those grants. And so if we came in at $1 million, we could potentially ask for $1 million to $1 million grant, which would put $2 million into just that one facility. I'm an ambitious person, but we'll see what can happen. You know, we're going against the best of the best and some of the people that have the biggest needs, but it's always a possibility. And then aside from that, there are some smaller grants, but those are more for programs. Those are going to be more if we wanted to do some sort of kayaking class or some sort of, bow and arrow or something of that nature. You would be working to get programming funds versus actual, I would consider capital dollars for larger projects.
Annette, you have a question?
Yes.
Sorry.
Do we have someone that is a designated, did the city hire someone to be a grant writer? So we do have someone.
Yes.
We do. And so that would definitely, we would try to activate that in the conversation to say, this is what we have, this is what we're bringing to the forefront. How can you assist us in leveraging these funds, and how can we write a grant to be able to receive it? Against the others, I think whenever you have a grant writer on track, I mean, that puts you, propels you a little bit more than if you're doing it in-house and you might not have that same experience. And also, you have opportunities to meet with UPWD and have conversations with them in advance to submitting those grants. So you have a better understanding of what their scoring system matrix might look like, and you can say, this is what we need to bring, or this is what we're missing, so we can build it up to be a very, very strong application when submitting that to UPWD.
Well, this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I was on that hike and bike trail for 5 years to get that part done, and I want Floresville to have nice parks like Kennedy does. Kennedy's park is very, very nice. Their splash pad, everything is really good, and I'm wondering why we can't have the same caliber of parks like they do.
That's what I was gonna ask, like, where would you put a splash pad? Like, you're saying with the community ones, they're asking for a splash pad as well, but.
I mean, one, we do have a splash pad and it's not in the best condition at the moment. So that would definitely be,
Not there.
right. So one I would want to first, let's look at what we have on resources. So looking at what we have in-house and what we can potentially fix to kind of get it up and running. Also, that would give us a determination on usage. So are we seeing a huge amount of influx of people to that one facility with it working? And then how can we determine what a true custom grade splash pad would look like in comparison? And that would give us the opportunity to go back and review. We talked about some land opportunities, some placements around the city. What can we really do to create, a park that we can all sit here and be proud of really putting building into?
You couldn't upgrade, how you're talking about a fountain and everything, you couldn't do this back here at once?
I mean, we can definitely have a conversation with the design team, but from my expertise, I think when people look at splash pads, they look at it from the top. They don't look at it from the infrastructure from the bottom. And that right there is what takes a lot of the space. So you're looking at buildings, you're looking at the filtration system, you're looking at the placement, the runoff. There's a lot of different factors that are to be taken into consideration. It's not just the footprint at the top, it's everything that falls underneath.
Well, that being said, that I think this is a wonderful project. It's just like David said, it's a big portion of budget, right? So it's like a lot. And it not only authorizes the budget for this year, it does it for the next 5 years.
Correct, for the capital improvement.
You have the projects listed for completion kind of in annual order. It starts with FY '27, it goes to FY '31. Is it also, I mean, would you prioritize them in that order as well? Is that why you listed them in that order? Because they're considered higher priority, or why do you have them listed in this order?
So a little bit of both. So first and foremost, aquatics, it would be something at the forefront because of the season. So we would need to strike while the iron's hot, basically while the facility is closed, and utilize that time frame. So that's why you're seeing it in that order. Watts is something that is going to be in the center of town. We would want to see that, revitalized pretty early on. When people see things being completed in front of their eyes, it kind of gives them a good feeling, right? And I think Watts is one that's going to be spectacular in the center of the city, and that's why it would be something priority-wise that would be needing. And it's also a very highly utilized location. I'm out here pretty late. I see the tennis courts being utilized. I see the facility in the front. I see, I know that we have, some events that are happening out here. So I know that the utilization of that facility, that park location is going to be probably at the top of my priority list there. Skate park modifications, the restrooms at the skate park need assistance. And that's also changing potentially blocking mechanisms to prevent vandalism. We're seeing a lot of vandalism out at that location, so that's a priority in that structure. Hike and bike trail rehabilitation, we get a lot of calls on hike and bike trail. They want to see more. We love that. How can we make more, make that happen? If we were looking at what can be done in what time frame, I think that we could create plans necessary on what we want to see for the hike and bike trail. I want it to be intentional. I don't want to say today, let's do a hike and bike trail, and I don't have a plan of what that system would look like. That would also be followed by athletic field improvements. Athletic field improvements are fields, they get a lot of usage, but they also need a lot of care. And we've kind of seen the usage overtake the care as years have gone on, and that's just, time and cost of what that could be. So I think it's important to realize that if we want to grow, if we want to bring tournaments in, if we want to keep up with the bigger and the better, we need to also think about it from that priority. And the rest would be, so Pecan Park leads into the trail connection. As you can see, there's kind of a system there. So I enjoy the hike and bike trail, but it's a one-way. There's no connector. So if we do some enhancements to Pecan Park, that would also lead into your enhancements to the Pecan Trail, to the trail connection to Pecan Park, to the hike and bike trail. I added a map there on that area where we would want to see that. But that's something that's going to take some time and actually have an architect or design to come in and say, hey, this is what's feasible. We would also have to engage for the crosswalk and to ensure that we're doing the proper crosswalk over from Pecan Park into the hike and bike trail. But lastly would be the wayfinding and the signage. It's great to do all of these projects, but it's not great if nobody knows what they are and where they're at. And so I would like to create a system. At that point, we would already have everything implemented, and we would be able to come back and create a wayfinding station, markers along the city in different areas of Oak Park, even at Pecan, to say, look at our enhancements, look at the connector, this is where we would go, this is where you would end. And at that point in time, the hike and bike rehabilitation would already be done, so the back end would be completed, so that at the front end it would be the connector, and at that point everything would be done. So the system was, how can we get all of these elements to structure so they're not falling or collapsing on top of each other, right? You want to make sure that there's a flow of that project over the timeline.
We're all new to this board. We're talking about, again, a third of the overall budget. I would be more comfortable, considering them maybe 1 year at a time, because as we have more meetings, as we have more discussions, as we learn more about the opportunities that are out there, and the projects that we might want to support or take on, or partner with other organizations on, to have already committed a third of the budget for 5 years in the future, and leave only 2/3 for us to work with. I don't know how we're going to feel about it in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, as far as priorities. And so, to me, I would be more comfortable just looking at maybe 1 year at a time, or one project at a time. But that's just me.
Ryan, what about the maintenance that's already provided? Is that every year that they provide city park maintenance, almost 50,000, and then 25,000 is for the sports park maintenance? Is that what I'm doing?
I need to look at that, but I know the 25,000 is for the
It says
sports complex. Yes.
Sport park maintenance, but then up here it says city parks maintenance and development.
I want to say that one, and I know in the past has been for last year they did the new playground at Pecan Park.
Oh, okay.
So it's any
But it's not
project that you wanted to do,
It's
correct?
not committed every year to
No,
do the
ma'am.
same.
No,
But
that
what
was
about
what was budgeted for each year on if you wanted to do a project.
And the sports park maintenance, 25,000, that's not something that's
That-
set.
It has been,